Most people say that marriages are arranged in heaven. However, one of these three men had his marriage arranged by his parents in Korea while he was 10,000 miles away in America. What is your name, please?
My name is Peter Kwan.
My name is Peter Kwan.
My name is Peter Kwan.
Only one of these gentlemen is the real Peter Quan. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cass, Orson Bean, Bess Myerson, plus 100 members of our studio audience on To Tell the Truth. And now, here's our host on To Tell the Truth, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good evening.
Good evening.
You're a sight for good eyes all the time, believe me. Bess Myerson, welcome to the nighttime version of To Tell the Truth. It's a real joy to have you here. Kitty is on tour with the Metropolitan Opera Company. And again tonight, we are going to give 100 persons in our studio audience a chance to vote electronically each time we play a game. So, panel, open your envelope and follow along with this first story, if you will. I, Peter Kwan, am a teacher in a state vocational training school. I came to the United States in 1960 from Korea. My family back home got the idea that I must be lonely and decided to pick out a wife for me. After many meetings and much discussion between the families, they finally decided on a girl named Jeannie Huang. Everyone was consulted except Jeannie and me. After an exchange of letters and photographs, Jeannie came to this country and we were married about 6 weeks ago. When I first met Jeannie in person, I knew I was a lucky man. I'm sure you'll agree with me when you meet her now. These gentlemen all claim to be Peter Kwan, and we'll start the questioning with Peggy Cass. Peggy?
Well, whoever you are, you're very lucky. Boy, she's cute. Number 3, do Korean parents always choose the bride for their sons?
In the ancient Korea, usually did that, but recently only the old-fashioned families still do that.
Well, number 2, you have an old-fashioned family, right?
No.
No?
That doesn't mean because of necessity, it is very hard to find a bride here
Okay.
as a foreigner.
Number 1, do Korean brides wear white the way ours do?
Yes.
Number 3, do you see the bride before the ceremony, or is that when you really meet her?
I personally saw the bride before we wed, but...
Orson Bean.
Number 1, now let me ask you, she's obviously beautiful, but does she clean up the house all right? When you go home tonight, will there be a stack of greasy pots and pans in the sink, or?
I think so.
Well, she's beautiful, so I guess it's all right. Number 2, now, what if you hadn't loved her when you saw her? Would you have gone against your parents' wishes?
Well, we have an agreement that if we do not like each other the first time we meet in the airport,
Yeah.
then we don't have to get married to each other.
Maybe she could just turn right around and go home. Huh?
Bess Myerson.
Number 2, what was the first thing you said to Jeannie?
Number 2?
Oh, number 2. Oh,
Yes,
number 2.
number 2.
I'm sorry.
The first thing you said to her when you saw her.
What was it?
Well, I spoke in Korean, so it's translated in English a little high. That's all I could say.
Where were you married, number 1?
We married at the Baptist church in Nashville.
In Nashville?
Yes.
Number 3, where is this vocational school that you teach at?
Inglewood, California.
And number 2?
Tom Poston.
Well, let me ask number 2, where is your school, please, number 2?
I stay in Champaign, outskirts of Champaign City.
And number 1, please?
Pikeville, Tennessee. Oh, you rascals have all got different places. Okay. Number one, please, tell us how you think the children can benefit from these marriages arranged by their parents.
I think that's a good idea, and the parents pick up girl to get married to son because there's no trouble.
That's all the time we have. It's time now for you to mark your ballots. If you will, please, panel, without any consultation or change. Of course, the team of challengers will get $250 for each incorrect vote. While you're voting, it's time for our group in the studio audience of 100 to vote also. On the voting machines in front of each of you, there are 3 buttons. When I say vote, please select number 1, number 2, or number 3. Are you ready? Vote. Your votes have been registered. Let's find out how our panel voted. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 1. She's such a lovely girl, and he seemed to be in such fine fettle about the whole thing, so I thought it might be he who's the lucky man.
Peggy.
I voted for number 1. He's so cute and he seems so happy that I figured he got her.
Orson.
They're all good liars, but I, too, had to vote for number 1 because he looks happy, because he has a sense of humor, and I think you need a sense of humor to have a successful marriage, and because they look a little bit alike, and I know that I look like my wife. People look like each other. People's dogs look like them. People's wives look like them.
Bess Myerson.
Well, I didn't go along with the majority. I voted for number 2, and I felt that when Jeannie first came into sight, he really suppressed such a smile of pride and joy that I chose him.
Very well, there we have it. Now let's find out who got the most votes from our studio audience. Our audience voted for number 2. All right. Now, Jeannie Kwan, I wonder if you would please do us the favor and the honor of showing us which one of these gentlemen is your husband. Thank you very much. It may interest you to know that Jeannie is about to enter Peabody College and that Peter teaches social studies at the State Vocational Training School in Pikeville, Tennessee. And glad you got together. You
Thank you.
Much happiness to you
Thank
both.
you, sir.
Number 2, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is John Chung, working for a business firm in downtown New York.
Thank you. And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name's Robert Chu. I'm a restaurant and nightclub owner and operator. I own Ginza Discotheque and Tamberlane International Steak Club in New York City.
Thank you. Checking the score, we find there was 1 panel incorrect vote and audience incorrect. Therefore, that's a total of $500, gentlemen. Thank you for being with us and hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed having you. Goodbye, and God bless you. We'll meet our next team of challengers in just a minute, right after this message. And now let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Bruce Brown.
My name is Bruce Brown.
My name is Bruce Brown.
Panel, please follow along and listen as I read. I, Bruce Brown, am a professional motion picture producer and a surfing enthusiast. In 1963, I decided to combine my 2 interests, so I followed summer around the world: Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Tahiti. 35,000 miles with a movie camera in search of the perfect surfing wave. I found that perfect wave, a flawless 4-foot curl, which for centuries had been breaking on a beach near Cape St. Francis, South Africa. Once back home, it took me nearly 6 months to cut my 50,000 feet of film into an hour-and-a-half documentary, which I call The Endless Summer. The film has been both a critical and box office success, which makes me happy, since in addition to shooting the film myself, I also acted as the producer, writer, editor, and narrator. Signed, Bruce Brown. Panel, these three gentlemen all claim to be Bruce Brown, and we'll start the cross-examination this time with Tom Poston. Tom?
Okay, just a few terms quickly. Number 2, is there another expression that you might have for shooting the tube?
You shooting the curl, or there's quite a few.
Yeah, for that same thing, right? Isn't one of them, number 3, like being in the shade or something?
No.
Getting in the dark? Number 3, what does hanging 10 mean?
It's putting 10 toes over the toe of your board.
Impossible. Number 1, what is a ding?
A ding is damage to your board.
What happens, number 1, if you're in the middle of one of those things and somebody else comes and dings you with his board?
You get mad.
And not hurt?
You get hurt.
Number 2, what was the danger of your perfect wave? We saw it on the monitor here. What was the danger of your perfect wave?
No danger. Maybe staying too long.
Staying too long?
Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number 3, what was the names of the 2 boys in the endless summer?
Mike and Robert.
Thank you. And number 1, where was it that they went surfing in Africa, where all the natives got, the old doors and things and tried to go surfing too?
That was in a little fishing village near Accra, Ghana.
In Ghana, did you
Near
say?
Accra, Ghana.
Thank you. Number 3, was Robert Kakai ever international surfing champion?
Robert, no.
Thank you. Number 2, at Cape St. Francis, how long did it take you to go from that truck? How long did it take you to walk to the beach?
About an hour.
Looks as though it took you 2 days. It's a great
Orson
movie.
Bean.
The movie is an all-time thrill. Now, number 3, you just broke records in a theater in Los Angeles, and you have an ad in the current Variety claiming that you broke those records. What's the name of the theater?
That's the Sunset Theater.
Number 2, what was the name of the nice guy in South Africa that picked up your 2 boys in a car?
Terrence.
Terrence. Number 1, what was the name of that country that had the wildly expensive hotel in Africa?
That was Senegal.
Senegal, yeah, that was a great-looking place, but gee. Number 1.
Bess Myerson.
Number 1, what is the capital of South Africa?
The capital is Cape Town.
Number 2, how far were you from Cape Town when you did your surfing in St. Francis?
It's about halfway between Cape Town and Durban.
How far is it?
About 400 miles, 500.
And in number 3, in what waters did you surf in New Zealand?
We surfed off Perth in Melbourne.
What was the name of the water, though?
The actual beach that was
Yes.
there? Oh, let's see. One was Papo. Another one was the other place.
Number 2, what was the beach called in New Zealand?
New Zealand, we surfed Raglan was one place.
Number...
And that's all the time we have. It's time for you now to mark your ballots. So please mark them as usual without any consultation, and don't change them once you've marked them. And, of course, while you're voting again, it's time for our studio audience to vote on the voting machines. Again, when I say vote, will you select number 1, number 2, or number 3? Are you ready? Vote. So, your votes have been registered. Now to the panel for their voting. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I thought they were the best liars we've had on for a long time. I voted for number 2 because he has webbed fingers and looks kind of waterlogged.
Peggy Cass.
Well, I saw that movie, and it was like a month at the seashore. I just loved it. But I voted for number 2 because his hair is so blonde, and if you're in the sun and the salt water gets on your hair, it bleaches it. I know.
Is that so?
That's true.
Orson.
They were all marvelous liars. I just happened to see that ad, number 3, and it wasn't the Sunset Theater. I think it was the Circle Theater or something. But I voted for number 1 because he looks like he has business acumen to make $1 million out of a picture like that.
Bess
Does it
Myerson.
hurt?
I don't know, but he
I
will.
voted for number 2 for the same reason that Peggy did. I thought that his hair was bleached, and it would only get that way if he spent a lot of time in the sun.
Well, there we have it then, with all the votes in. Let's find out now who got the most votes from our studio audience. Our audience voted for number 2. Very well. We'll find out which of these gentlemen, in truth, is Bruce Brown. Will the real Bruce Brown please stand up? I must say, it is a truly great film, and I wish you continued success with it.
Thank you.
We all do. Number one, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Penn Kavanaugh. I'm advertising manager for Shefflin and Company, Wine and Sheridan Quarter.
Thank you. And number three, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name is Jimmy Jones, and I'm the crew chief for Millen Oil Car Sports Car Racing Team.
Well, when we check the score, we find that panel did pretty well, and so did the studio audience out here this time. There was only one incorrect vote, but still, that's worth $250, and we do thank you for being with us. Goodbye, and God bless you. We'll be right back with our next team and play another game in a minute, but now, listen to this. And now let's meet our third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Morton Schulman. My name is Morton Schulman.
My name is Morton Schulman.
Follow along for the third time, if you will, panel. I, Morton Schulman, am a physician and former city coroner who has just written a book that will not make you healthy or wise, but just might make you wealthy. As an investor in the stock market for the past 18 years and as president of a put and call company, I have handled over $100 million in stocks and bonds. In my book, I draw from this personal experience to illustrate my unorthodox approach to the market. I discuss the ideal investment, the pitfalls of penny stocks, the free riders and how they make money without spending a cent of their own, and what I consider the best speculation in the stock market. I have called my book, Anyone Can Make a Million. And it's true. I did it myself. Signed, Dr. Morton Schulman. These three gentlemen all claim to be Dr. Morton Schulman, and would start with the gentleman who is worth more than $1 million in anybody's money as a performer, the star of the new Broadway musical hit, Ilya Darling, Orson B.
Ah, you have class the way you work that into the conversation, but... Number three, now, there's a difference between making $1 million and keeping $1 million. How much do you have to make to keep $1 million in this day and age?
Well, I'm a Canadian, so we have no capital gains tax, so I just have to make what I make, I keep.
Yeah, you do, huh? Mercy, that's great. Number one, what famous member of a dance team wrote a book about making a lot of money in the stock market?
I don't know.
Number two, do you happen to know?
I don't believe so.
Mercy, number two. Number two, how about all these books about making a killing in real estate? Is that really a good way to make a lot of money?
I don't agree. I don't think the real estate method is the shortest way to the million.
Yeah, it's kind of sleazy, too, isn't it, number two? Yeah.
Well, it could be. Not always, though.
Poor old ladies out in the snow and all still. I suppose life is hard. Number one.
Bess Myerson.
All right. Number one, where are you from?
San Francisco.
And who's the new president of the board of the Stock Exchange?
Mr. Robert Hack.
And the chairman of the board?
Chairman of the board? No, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Number two, do you know?
Bill Connolly.
Number three?
I don't know.
You don't know. Number three, what are some of the clues that you give in your book about making $1 million?
Well, I advise people how to avoid the risks and still keep the same possibility of making big gains, primarily through convertible bonds.
And number two, what is the suggestion you have?
Well, I would add to convertible bonds, convertible preferreds, and in some cases, some of your better common stocks.
Number one, you give me your idea.
Well, convertible bonds are certainly the safest way to make $1 million without any chance of losing it. If you want to gamble, you can make your $1 million in puts and calls.
Tom Poston.
Please tell us, number three, what is put and call? What does that mean?
Those are options to buy stock.
And what do you stand to lose, number two, on a put and call?
Not very much. That's the beauty of it. You get a chance to make a lot. Your chances of losing are greater than winning, though. I'll have to warn you.
Thank you. Number one, how long would you say it would take by your method to make your $1 million?
Well, it's taken me about 11 years. If you read my book and follow the rules, I think you can do it a lot faster because I've had to learn along the way, too. I started not knowing anything about the market.
Number three, you don't have any of those books with you, do you? Number three, again, what's the difference between long and short?
Selling short is selling a stock you don't own in the hope it'll go down so you can buy it back cheaper.
Peggy Cass.
Number one, how much capital do you have to start with to start to make $1 million?
I started with $400.
Oh boy, I beat that. And number two, did you only start with a little bit of money?
Yes, a very small amount.
Number three, you think convertible bonds is a very good way to become a millionaire.
I think it's the safest way.
What do you think of the racetrack?
That's a quick way to go broke.
Number two, what is a convertible bond? I never even heard of a convertible bond.
A convertible bond is a bond sold at a certain price. You'll see them advertised in the New York Times or any of the financial publications. And you have a right to convert it into stock anytime you want to.
And if you don't want to, you don't have to?
You don't have to.
And you don't have to pay anything?
And, well, the interest rate is a little bit lower, but not much lower normally. However, you're protected from it going down, and if it goes up, you convert.
But number one, why doesn't everybody in the country become a millionaire with these grand rules?
Well, it's very, very simple. Most of you depend on stockbrokers for your advice.
I do.
We'll stop it there before we antagonize anybody. And ask you to vote, if you will, please. It's time for that. Mark your ballots now. And while you're doing that, of course, our 100 in the studio audience will use their voting machines. Again, when I say vote, please select number 1, number 2, or number 3. Are you ready? Vote. Votes have been registered. How did the panel go? Tom, for whom did you vote?
I didn't know for whom to vote. I was sorry that number 3 said he was Canadian and didn't pay any, et cetera, but I liked his answers in spite of that. So I voted for him.
Peggy.
Besides, he was smiling a lot, and all coroners are cheery guys.
Peggy.
I forgot all about the fact he was a coroner. But after all, number 3 doesn't pay any capital gains, so naturally it's easy for him to become a millionaire. So I didn't vote for him. I voted for number 1 because he comes from San Francisco, and everybody knows there's a lot of rich people in San Francisco.
Orson Bean.
I found it hard to believe that a guy who wrote a book about making $1 million didn't know that Nick Darvis of Darvis and Julia wrote a book about making $1 million. However, I voted for number 3 because I didn't get a chance to ask him that.
Bess.
Well, I voted for number 3 because number 1 and 2 had an opportunity to tell us how much they started with, and I can't imagine making $1 million and starting with just 400.
Boy, I can.
You can?
That's right.
All right, let's find out who got the most votes from our studio audience. Our studio audience voted for number 2. Got the majority of votes from the studio audience. So let's discover now which of these 3 gentlemen, in truth, is Dr. Morton Schulman. Will the real Dr. Schulman please stand up? Well, you certainly fooled the studio audience. Thank you, sir. Let's check something that was raised by Bess in her reason. How much did you start with?
$400.
But was that 18 years ago?
That was in 1950.
Canadian dollars.
I had $400, then you should have called me up.
Called me up.
Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Cal Estes, and I'm a vice president at Family Circle magazine.
Thank you, sir. And number 2, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is C.B. Whitehead, and I'm a colonel in the Air Force.
Well, when we check the score, we find there were 3 correct votes by our panel, 1 incorrect from the panel and 1 from the studio audience, making a total at $250 for each incorrect vote of $500, gentlemen. And thank you for sharing this evening with us. Good night, and God bless you. We'll be back in a minute, but now, this important message. That's all we have. God bless you there. Thank you for making it a bright evening, panel, and see you tomorrow afternoon. See you next week as well. And we're going to count on seeing you, too. And see you tomorrow afternoon on the afternoon show. In the meantime, don't you forget to tell the truth. Bye.
To Tell the Truth is a Markford Sinville Todman production. This is Johnny Olson speaking. For To Tell the Truth, tonight's program was pre-recorded.
Thursday night, George C. Scott, Colleen Dewhurst, and Melvin Douglas in The Crucible, the moving drama of people caught up in the historic Salem witch trials.
brought to you tonight by Pronto, push-button floor care, new from Johnson Wax. The push-button foam that cleans and shines floors dries in 5 minutes. Pronto.